A cursed museum, a samurai ghost, and an ancient sword that should never have been touched. The modern world must be saved. But how? The legend must end where it all began. Today, on Mystery Saturday, I'll explain Scooby-Doo and the samurai sword in exactly 10 minutes. It all begins at night, in a Japanese museum, where the caretaker is distracted by a shadow and notices an open window. The administrator comes right away, upset that he's not doing his job, and says there's no respect left for traditions. As it were, the museum boss grabs the employee by the arm and takes him to show him the Black Samurai's armor, one of the most dangerous warriors in Japan's history. A few moments later, the ghost of the Black Samurai comes to life and vanishes in a split second. The next day, our gang arrives in Tokyo by train when Shaggy realizes they're out of Scooby snacks. Scooby doesn't hesitate for a second, activates his hound nose, and instantly finds a vending machine selling Japanese Scooby snacks. At the Hachiko statue, we meet Yumi and find out the reason why our gang is in Tokyo. Shaggy tells Scooby that maybe one day he'll have a similar statue, but Yumi says that only true legends get a statue like that. Daphne has been invited to a martial arts tournament. Yumi tells them that sometimes she wishes she could be a member of the mystery gang too, and Shaggy doesn't miss the chance to say that for the next mystery, she can go in his place. We also learn from Yumi that Miss Minimoto runs the most prestigious martial arts school in all of Japan. However, to become a student there, you have to survive the tournament. Japan is depicted in this film as being highly developed, with our gang traveling in a plane that has no pilots as it is fully automated. Before our group arrives at the tournament, Miss Minimoto is warned by the museum administrator that the ghost of the Black Samurai will come after the Scroll of Destiny. She doesn't care at all, believing it's just a strategy to attract more people to the museum, and she invites him to take part in the tournament. Eventually, our group arrives as well, and Shaggy and Scooby are greeted by Sojo, who tells them to put on their uniforms. Frightened, they try to run away, but Sojo throws the uniforms onto them. When he says that everyone must wear a uniform and moves toward Daphne, she immediately throws him to the ground. The answer to last time's quiz was B. The first 5 comments and another 5 randomly selected comments are now displayed on the screen. This week's question is, does a joke from the Dexter cartoon appear in the previous episode? Yes, B. No, C. Actually, there are 2. You have 5 seconds to answer. Just like last time, the first 5 comments and another 5 randomly selected comments will appear on the screen next time. Now back to the episode. While our heroes take a quick stroll through the yard, we find out who the main competitors in the tournament are. The first is just a gassy Irishman who's really strong. Sonia is a force of nature, and the only thing deadlier than her punch is her beauty. And then there's Masimoto, who's a man with dog-like habits. Apparently these guys have been around since 2009. I'm not going to comment any further on this. Miss Masimoto praises Daphne in front of all the other competitors because she managed to take down Sojo, and she wants a demonstration of her strength. Daphne and Yumi start a one-on-one fight from which Yumi emerges victorious after a controversial move. However, the main element here wasn't the fight, but rather the camera in the eyes of this statue that was recording everything. Miss Minimoto is impressed by Daphne's potential and announces that the tournament will begin tomorrow with the first ray of sunlight in the sky. However, a lavish dinner was prepared for the upcoming evening, and Shaggy and Scooby couldn't be more thrilled about it. Fireworks everywhere, sumo wrestling demonstrations, geishas serving food. Nothing could have foretold what was about to happen on that demonic night. While Scooby and Shaggy are stuffing their faces, some ninjas show up and scare everyone. Daphne's opponents try to chase them away, but they don't stand a chance. The ghost of the Black Samurai appears as well, and everyone runs away. What follows is a classic Scooby-Doo chase scene which really doesn't need any further commentary. In the end, after a confrontation with Miss Minimoto, the ghost of the Black Samurai manages to steal the Destiny Scroll, and now he could become unstoppable. Now everyone firmly believes that the Black Samurai has returned stronger than ever. Then our gang also meets the museum curator, who tells the story of the Black Samurai. After losing his master, the samurai sought out a craftsman who told him he would make him a sword with mystical powers, but that it would take at least a year to complete it. However, the craftsman's apprentice said he would make him a sword just as good in 6 months, and our samurai agreed. But the sword the apprentice made was imbued with dark magic, and when the samurai drew it from its sheath, it overtook him as well. It was in fact a sword of darkness, a sword of doom, and from it emerged the Black Samurai. After some time, the master's sword was also finished, and he entrusted it to a green dragon whom we will talk about a little later. In an epic battle, the dragon defeated the samurai and trapped him inside the Sword of Doom. That was, in short, the legend of the Black Samurai. However, the mystery gang quickly realizes that something is missing. Why did the samurai want the Scroll of Destiny? Well, apparently it's a kind of map to find the Sword of Doom, but it's in the form of an ancient riddle. When no one expected it, from behind a false wall, Miss Minimoto shows everyone the real Scroll of Destiny. The mystery team manages to solve the riddle, which is actually related to origami. After they make a dragon out of the parchment, they find out that the Sword of Doom is at the Temple of 1,000 Steps, and so they set off for the island in the South Pacific. Exhausted after climbing the 1,000 steps, they find the inscription of the green dragon at the entrance, so they've arrived at the right place. Shaggy accidentally activates a magic lever that reveals a treasure map on which the Sword of Doom can also be seen. As they exit the cave, they run straight into some cannibals who politely put the boys in a pot to cook while trying to marry the girls off to their tribal chief. The tribe is frightened by the airplane that has just landed, thanks to Velma who's controlling it from her laptop. A few moments later, they arrive at a waterfall whose entrance is actually a dragon's mouth. After landing, Scooby is very scared, but of course he is lured with some Scooby snacks. In that cave, our gang finds the Sword of Doom and Mumi goes to pick it up. At that moment, the cave starts to self-destruct and the ghost of the Black Samurai appears, who wants the sword at any cost. After another chase, the Black Samurai runs into a rock and his mask falls off. That's when everyone finds out that the Black Samurai is actually Sojo himself. Later at the museum, the gang, happy to have solved the mystery, explains what Sojo's plan was. However, he still manages to escape, and we find out that Miss Minimoto was also involved in this mystery. Apparently, the whole tournament thing was just a pretext so that those ninja guys who are actually robots could have the best moves and be theoretically unbeatable. Obviously, Mayumi is also involved on the side of the bad guys since her loyalty is genuine. Miss Minimoto's plan is to release the real Black Samurai from the sword and for her to become his master. Mayumi was betrayed since she didn't know the real plan and now she's backing out, but it's far too late for her to switch sides. Scooby and Shaggy use a jetpack to escape with the sword, but the rest of the gang gets trapped in the museum. Shaggy and Scooby end up at a Japanese restaurant where the ninjas manage to surround them. However, the chef has some remarkable sword skills and manages to defeat a few of them, but unfortunately the sword has already fallen into the wrong hands. The rest of the gang is rescued from the museum by the janitor we mentioned at the beginning. The chef from the previous scene takes Shaggy and Scooby to a sacred land of the samurai. There he trains the two to become samurai and to restore the sacred temple. But in order to become true samurai, they must purify themselves by passing through the 4 sacred gates. But in order to become true samurai, they must purify themselves by passing through the 4 sacred gates, the gate of earth, air, fire, and water. After they pass through the 4 gates, they will reach the green dragon who will hand them the sword of destiny. They manage to reach the green dragon and ask him for the sword of destiny. The dragon, after retreating, dresses them as samurai and hands them the sword of destiny. The legend must end where it all began. Miss Minimoto tries to bring the Black Samurai back to life, but Mayumi escapes at the last moment with the Sword of Doom. The gang, who were watching from the rooftop, use a device that emits such a strong magnetic field that it sabotages the ninja goons, but the power was so great that now the entire country is left without electricity. The Sword of Doom still ends up in Mojo's hands, who was dressed as the Black Samurai, but after the spirit of the Black Samurai is released, Mojo is simply blasted out of the costume. The Black Samurai has officially returned. Miss Minimoto firmly believes that she is his master, but he makes it clear who gives the orders and who doesn't. He also captures the rest of the gang, but Shaggy and Scooby riding the Green Dragon show up on the scene. They are about to fight the final battle against the Black Samurai. When they draw the Sword of Fate, the dragon enters it and the final battle is about to begin. The Black Samurai is surprised that they actually have the Sword of Fate. The fight is extremely close, with the Black Samurai almost defeating them. Even the chef who taught Scooby and Shaggy to be samurai shows up and tries to give them confidence. However, the Sword of Fate proved to be much stronger than the Sword of Doom. The samurai was defeated, and the modern world was saved. Behind the mask, it turned out to be the very samurai himself, who thanks them for freeing him from the power of the Sword of Doom and for saving the world. The legend of the samurai Scooby and Shaggy will be told forever from now on. The museum has reopened, and in its courtyard, a statue of Scooby-Doo was even placed. Now the Japanese will surely remember him forever. Well guys, that was this week's movie. Don't forget to leave a comment about what we should talk about in the next episode of Mystery Saturday. But, my big guys, I was Pity, and don't forget, until next time, I won't even say goodbye. Alright, see you, bye.